Hello, hello. Welcome, replay viewers. Back at UCLA. Doing some IRL street epistemology.
But anyways, then her other two friends are doing white men, which is super cool.
Selling donuts down there. I know, very tempting. Let's see how long I can hold out. Oh, really? I usually try to be here on Wednesdays. I'll be coming out 2 more times this year. And I'm heading back to Naples for the holidays. You'd love to do an interview, but you're questioning so many beliefs, you're struggling to find a good topic. Yeah. Well, if you see me, would love to chat about whatever. We can brainstorm. Ackerman? Don't know what that is. Oh, Ackerman Union? Yeah, we're very close. We're on the Bruin Walkway, whatever that is. I think there's a pool right there. Hello. Hi, want to do an interview? Welcome. Thank you, thank you. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Good, good.
What's your name?
Reed.
Reed?
Mm-hmm.
My name's Ange.
Ange?
Mm-hmm.
How do you spell that?
A-N-G.
A-N-G, gotcha. Cool. Want to do headphones? It's a little easier to hear around here. Check, check, hello.
Ooh, very nice.
So, yeah, Ange.
Yes.
Cool, yeah. Yeah, have you seen my setup here before? Is it the first time?
No, it's my first time.
Cool.
Should I take my laptop?
Sure, if you want to.
Yeah.
How's your classes been going today?
Pretty good. Just came out of a classics Greek class.
Greek classics
Greek
class?
classics,
Nice.
yep.
Nice.
How about you?
I'm not a student here, just I go to various places around LA to practice my hobby, where I try to talk with people with this way of having conversations, the Socratic method style, street epistemology, and I like to hear people out, let them pick a topic, and I ask them questions to help them think through it, to help me learn, and to help us both collaborate on how we can figure out whatever we're talking about is true or not. Yeah. Yes, those are my goals. Any questions about it, or?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. Do you mind if I record and live stream? Is that cool? Thanks. All right. Alrighty, cool. And let me know if you don't want it to go anywhere, or if I want to not upload it or something.
Okay.
So yeah, did you see a few of the topics over there?
Yeah, I did. Astrology caught my eye.
Astrology. Want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure.
What is astrology in your mind?
Well, I mean, there's obviously this big even on TikTok and stuff, there's just this trend of really consumable astrology. Consumable astrology, where it's really easy and to kind of be told, what to expect of your day, of your month, of your year. It's kind of silly to me.
Okay.
But it's very popular, I think. Yeah.
What's the difference between consumable astrology and the real thing?
Well, I believe there is some kind of force or some energy that at the time that you were born, you know what I mean? That moment that you manifested into life, there was something that kind of aligned in the universe that made you come into life. But is it so easy to say then okay, because this planet was here, then, or because you were born in January, then you're going to be selfish, or you know what I mean? Those personality traits that are divide the entire human population into 12 groups of personality traits. Consumable astrology, I think it's popular because some people like to get told what to do, or get told what they are sometimes.
Yeah, I think astrology is a kind of answer to the question, what makes us who we are? Is that fair?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, let's try to focus on that broad question.
Yeah.
And astrology is one maybe out of many potential answers to that question. And try to compare the answers to see which is actually the one we should go with. The most reasonable answer.
Yeah.
What are some other potential answers to that question? What makes us who we are?
What makes us who we are? Well, some people think it's other people. Some people think it's God. Some people think it's this power of nature that's sometimes personified as God.
Nature.
Mm-hmm.
Nature. Those are good ones.
What do you think?
What do you mean by any other people you said? What do you mean by that? Like socialization?
Yeah, I mean, like just if you think about like, okay, how does your personality form? Some people think like, okay, there's your genetics, which are from your parents,
Yeah.
and then there's the socialization aspect of like, you know, the nature and nurture. They're
Yeah.
both kind of
Nurture, yeah.
Yeah,
Is
nature.
culture another good word for that?
yeah,
Is that fair?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, culture.
Alrighty. Let's think about these any other potential answers to have on the board to think about, or does this cover the main answers people give?
I think this is a pretty good list.
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
If we had to rank this between 0 to 10, where like 10 is the most reasonable, 0 is
Least reasonable.
reasonable, completely false, what numbers would we give each of these?
Well, this is completely my personal opinion now, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're just guessing at this point.
Okay. I think 10 most reasonable is nature.
Okay.
Astrology, because, well, like we talked before about, you know, like the kind of like the.
Yeah, you said force and energy, something
Yeah.
in the moment that manifested into your life.
Mm-hmm.
That thing.
So that's there, but then there's like the astrology, like.
If that's what you mean by astrology.
Yeah.
That force.
Yeah. Like the study of stars and the energy of that versus a categorization of like and like labeling of all those kind of events. So in my like kind of definition, like astrology is kind of tied in with nature.
Astrology is a natural hypothesis. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of goes in with it.
Yeah.
All right. I guess so. Is culture a natural hypothesis as well?
It kind of seems like the more we get into it, the more all of them kind of start merging into each other.
Yeah. Maybe between astrology and culture, both are natural. Is that fair to say?
Mm-hmm.
Culture is natural?
Mm-hmm.
If nature is 10, these are more specific hypotheses within nature, which is, how would you rate culture versus astrology?
I think culture is way stronger than astrology.
Okay.
Yeah, just because like it's way more kind of potent in our minds when we interact with other people. How that interaction changes the next interaction is much more stronger and like more kind of like easy to grasp and easy to act on.
Yeah. Can I add another hypothesis?
Mm-hmm.
Biology?
Mm-hmm.
Is that fair?
For sure.
That's another kind of natural hypothesis.
Yeah.
This is the nature versus nurture when we mean that.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. Okay. Does culture answer all the questions for what makes us who we are?
Definitely not.
So it's not a 10. Where would it be on the scale?
So maybe let's say 7.
A 7?
Yeah.
Okay. Does astrology answer all the questions about who we are?
Let's say a 5 for that one.
A 5?
Yeah.
If I can find it. Where does biology go?
6.
It's more. Okay. Okay. There's a 9 upside down. Okay. So if we know a lot about the culture and the astrology and the biology, we would know what makes us who we are. These are all the things that help us answer that question. Okay. How does astrology help us make us understand who we are?
It's through understanding. I think it's a lot about like letting go of your ego, because that's often more polluting and like more confusing the mind in what and who you are, and kind of like what you are here for, kind of that kind of thing.
What you're here for, your purpose.
Yeah.
That might relate to God. What's the rating you would give for that?
The rating?
Yeah. Some people might say I'm not going to give my opinion unless you're asking.
Some people might say. Some people. I would say. Well, I mean, God is different things, though. You know, God can be love.
Yeah. How good is God as an answer to what makes us who we are on that scale?
4.
4.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. So now, let's go back to astrology and focus on that as that one piece of that answer.
Yeah.
How good of an answer is astrology to this question? Right now it's a 5. Why? What's your confidence that is the correct number? If all the way to the right is absolutely yes, 5 is the correct number, or I'm not sure, or absolutely no, completely false, it should be a completely different number. Where is your current confidence about that on your little confidence scale thing there?
Well, there is kind of like a definitive aspect to it, in that like the stars are going to do what they do no matter what we describe them what they're doing as.
The stars are going to do what they're going to do?
Yeah, the stars are going to do what they're going to do. Okay. No matter what we say, like that they're doing, or how they're affecting us, or how we act based on how they act. So there is that. But there's just like such an artificial aspect of astrology that makes like it even confusing to just even like, base an answer off of.
An artificial aspect?
Yeah, just like, I mean, if we're saying that, like, okay, so because Jupiter is in whatever house or something like that, how could we ever know is through like trial and error, or experiments, or kind of like repeated experience, right? And we don't really have that, so it's just like. But if you're looking at like the kind of like just the phenomenon without like the kind of like describing it or like easily consuming it, then you can kind of say, I would think of it as more like, okay, where am I in respect to all these planets and this star stuff? And what does that mean? That I act in certain ways because of when I was born in like the history of humans. And yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so we're trying to build this model of what makes us who we are.
Yeah.
And one answer astrology gives is because of the relationship I'm hearing between where the stars were, the planets potentially, and where we're born and when we're born. This model predicts how we're going to be based on all that input and output. Is that fair?
Yeah. I think also I think back to like kind of this like Buddhist idea of like the circulating life forms.
Circulating life forms?
Yeah, just this energy that circulates around all of us and kind of like manifests itself in different forms. And that's kind of what I'm thinking about when I think of like our placement in the stars and the energy. And
okay.
Yeah.
That sounds more like a supernatural hypothesis.
A supernatural hypothesis or a natural hypothesis.
Yeah. Is that energy of the Buddhist, of the swimming of the, what do you call it? Energy or souls?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a natural hypothesis or a supernatural hypothesis? Or is that a fair category difference? Or an unfair one?
I mean, if you ask me, then it's the way that things are, so that's just going to be like a natural hypothesis.
Okay.
But
we can go with that.
Yeah.
So astrology is part of that Buddhist potentially model of how is it like a reincarnation thing? Do all humans have souls? Or is it all of life, or is it more than life that has an energy or a soul? What is the difference between energy and soul?
Yeah, I mean, like there's this idea of like everything being on the palm of the Buddha. So everything is kind of like part of one. And so if you think about it that way, like if you are part of one, then everything around you must kind of affect you in some way, or you are involved with everything around you. Mm-hmm. So if you born in a certain time or a certain time, then the way that you are interacting with the material around you is kind of descriptive of your unique existence. Like in this time, I'm living as a human being because I was born in this way. But that is different from this like just that artificial aspect that we talked about. So I think, it's just like, I just think about, I wonder how these forces affect me rather than just being told what they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the astrology claims there are forces that affect people when they're born. Mm-hmm. Is that true?
I think that there is like a certain like kind of path that you could be on because of where you started. But I don't think it's as kind of like clear paths. Like it's not like there's a fork in the road and there's like a sign saying go this way, go that way. it's more like you're on the path and you might find certain things along the way because of where you started.
Okay.
Yeah.
The signs are a kind of path. Is that fair? Yeah, is that fair to say? They're not strict paths. They're just a set of things that are more likely to happen to you in your life. Is that like what's a good example of someone following the path of what a sign says in life?
Following what a sign says in life.
Is it more prescriptive? Like because this is your sign, you should do this, or is it because this is your sign, it's describing what's going to happen regardless of what you want to do?
Sign as an astrological sign?
Yeah, the astrological sign.
Astrological sign. No, I don't believe that. No.
Like, is it a recommendation for what to do, or is it a prediction of what's going to happen?
Is it a recommendation or a prediction? I guess it would be more of a prediction because it's like, okay, here's what's set out for you. Yeah.
Well, then that's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to know what's going to happen in my life.
Right.
I would love to have that knowledge.
Yeah.
And if astrology is claiming it has that knowledge for me and like everybody, I'd love to know more about that. How does that work?
$1 stickers, support CHC.
I think it's a lot to do with intuition. This like feeling, the gut feeling that you get when you feel that something is right or wrong. I think that's what kind of like guides the path that you should go on.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think this intuition feeling is like a part of this universal like drive or universal like pull toward a certain thing.
So like our intuitions for what we should do or not do. This is evidence of astrology's prediction for our life. If we have a positive intuition that, yeah, this is what I should be doing, that is evident, and it aligns with what astrology says is going to happen in our life, that is evidence for astrology?
No, it's still, I'm still like, so if you go like on an astrology app, like there's an app CoStar, I'm not sure if you've heard of it.
I've heard of it a few times. Yeah. People have mentioned that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
How do you spell that?
CO dash star.
Dash star.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean I can pull it up right now, honestly.
Okay.
But yeah, it pretty much like I take what I want from it really, because it gives you like a daily like kind of like motto of like what's gonna happen, or like
by the day it ends.
By the day, yeah.
Okay.
So it'll be like something like don't like an easy one would be just like don't close yourself off or something like that. But it's just like a lot of it is also what I notice is like kind of like vague stuff, like it can go either way, that then I can take and I will like kind of make the best out of. And so that's why I kind of think that it's like even like some of it is like just kind of counterintuitive and stupid in some ways, but I think it's honestly like not the worst way to go, because it kind of gives you like these like prompts, or like these like potential like paths, and then you choose like how you are gonna make whatever out of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a way to help you in your life.
Yeah.
In some way, giving you prompts to, to go about in your day in a positive way.
Yeah.
Kind of motivation, that type thing.
Yeah, and like, and again, like to follow your intuition. So it's like a question of intuition every time. It's like, yeah. Okay. So that like positive feeling, or that okay, because of this, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this result comes out of asking your intuition, like based on this prompt. So.
Okay.
Yeah, even if there's like kind of, so yeah, I kind of take parts from the app, and take what's helpful. Yeah.
Okay. So if people get this app and they are prompted to use their intuition to go about their day in a more positive way, if more people did that and they became, more behaving more positively in their day, is this good evidence that astrology is true? That the reason for their positive behavior is because of all the star stuff and the energy, and when you're born, the cause of that good behavior? Is that behavior good evidence? What I'm hearing you say is that the CoStar app helps people behave better?
Yeah.
Is that good evidence that astrology is true?
Probably not.
Okay.
You're like, oh.
All right. Because I really want to know if it's true.
Yeah.
And maybe we can ask the broad question, how confident are you that it's true right now? If all the way to the right is absolutely confident, or not sure, or absolute false, where's your current confidence about it?
So... You
have a scale.
Oh, yeah, you like do the scale.
Yeah.
How confident am I?
Yeah.
I'm going like this right now.
You're like wavering.
But that's good.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, so there's definitely this like feedback aspect of just like when it's written down as astrology, then like this is how it is, then it's going to become the reality of how it is. But how true is what's written down is I'm less confident right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another thing astrology does for us is helps us behave better in the world.
Right.
What are some what's the second best way besides using CoStar to act better in
the world? Go read books. Go to school.
Okay. All right. So we're on that path as well.
Yeah.
So we're not going to be at risk of not behaving in a bad way.
Yeah.
If we don't potentially rely on astrology in order to do it.
Well, it's like, for me, I mean, like kind of this like spirituality thing is like, like journaling and like meditation and like kind of asking yourself how you feel and like what you think and clarifying your ideas. So that like the actions you take are more directly from yourself, and you're not kind of just like going with the flow of everything. I think that's what helps me to do.
Yeah, so if you have like a journaling app that asks you kind of similar questions to just journal about a question.
Yeah.
It's not making any claims about how you came about through stars and energy and stuff.
Yeah.
That's another good way to figure out what you should be doing in your day and your life.
For sure.
Okay.
For sure.
Alrighty. So at this point, what is the best evidence for astrology, or reason to think it's true?
I would say...
Are there any at this point?
Yeah, the only thing would be this intuition and like evidence of a lot of like artists who claim, or artists and athletes and kind of a lot of people who claim to have followed their intuition to get where they are. I think that's definitely evidence of like, following your gut and where that takes you.
Is that an appeal to popularity? Like a lot of the high prestige, high status people use it, and does that give it weight that it's true? A lot of people we look up to use it, I wonder.
So
is that the reason I'm hearing? That because a lot of important people use it. Is that good reason to think it's true?
That's a good point.
Okay.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Like why are they using it?
Right.
What is their evidence?
Right. I mean, if you have like a bunch of people who are all following this, and then certain people make it, and then they claim to have used this, then obviously this is going to be like the
Okay.
inflated data.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, we could keep going talking about the reasons and potential reasons against it, or figuring out how we could test it. I'm going to be here 2 more Wednesdays this year.
All right.
And I'd love to keep continuing to talk about it. And I'd like to offer whoever I talk to one of these little puzzle pieces that are like little stress ball things, if you want to remember the conversation that way.
This one?
Yeah, one of those.
Ooh.
Pick a color.
Yeah, let me work on my debating skills a little bit. I just sat down for fun, but
yeah, it's not a debate. It's all about you and your reasons. I want to hear you out.
Yeah.
This is fun though.
This is fun. Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hope to see you again. Thanks. Cool. Hey. Oh, hey, what's up?
What's up, dude?
What's up? Good.
Good, man. You told me you'd be back here on Wednesday.
Yeah.
I'm like, here we are.
Lived up to my word.
All right.
How's it going?
What do you want to talk about?
I don't know. We just finished talking about astrology with someone. That was fun.
Astrology, really? What were you guys talking about it?
Just is it true? Is there other good reasons to believe it?
What did they say?
They were about that confident about it by the end, and had a lot of questions about it by the end, I think.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Yeah. Got some friends here.
Yeah, they're interested in this type of stuff too.
Awesome.
So.
I would love to chat with whoever.
Of course.
Yeah, and want to do headphones?
Yeah, let's put them in.
And I apologize. What's your name again?
No worries, Riley.
That's right.
Yeah.
Riley. Yeah, Reed.
Yeah, Reed. I remember you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, and we have talked before. I know we got to like socialism.
We were talking about critical race theory.
Critical race theory to socialism.
And then we started talking about socialism. Yeah.
Let me try to find my last notes with you.
Yeah.
I didn't have any notes.
Yeah, but I'm down to talk about that. Really, like, I'm here to dominate the marketplace of ideas. Dominate the marketplace of ideas.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Hell yeah.
But yeah. So anything like that, anything even a little like spicy, controversial, anything like that, I'm down to talk about.
I talked with someone last week. We started with critical race theory and then got to like a communistic revolution.
Really?
So it's like
I saw a YouTube video last week, and there was one girl you were talking to. She was talking about Angela Davis.
Yeah, that was
maybe it was that. That was very, very interesting to me. Yeah.
You saw that one?
I saw that. Yeah, I was very impressed by her.
You were impressed by her?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and the question was like revolution or reform is required to make the world a better, or is the best way to make the world a better place.
Okay, I like that idea.
The revolution or reform question. Yeah, that was one question we talked about. But you watched the video. Any other thoughts about the video? Conversation?
I only watched a couple parts of it. I think one of the things she was talking about was she was talking kind of about redemption and reprisal versus forgiveness in a criminal justice system. So was she kind of talking about the ethics of forgiving people versus the idea of like an eye for an eye, kind of?
Yeah,
or what else was she talking about?
Like restorative justice versus, what is it called? Retributive justice? Like the eye for an eye.
Right.
Maybe not that far, but just some kind of punishment is involved for the crime.
Yeah.
Versus what she called restorative justice, which might involve forgiveness.
I see.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of the quality of our justice system versus other justice systems right now? That's another question.
Sure, yeah. I think in general, I have a pretty poor view of what our justice system is in America. I mean, everybody's heard this. We have 5% of the world's population, yet at the same time, we have 20% of the world's incarcerated people. So we see a really, really high overrepresentation of these people, and I think if tough on crime policies, for example, like 3 strikes laws, actually worked, then we would have exactly the opposite scenario on our hands where people fare far, far better, and there's a higher total, welfare, and we see less people in jail because then these people actually would be genuinely scared of, committing these crimes and then going to jail. But I think the failure of it is something that is a result of other variables. We can talk about economics and poverty and other really specific programs. Many of them have a distinct racial element to them. So we could talk about, the war on drugs, for example. But more broadly, what I genuinely believe in, you guys are kind of out here emphasizing philosophy, is that an eye for an eye makes everybody blind. And, reprisal isn't justice. And inflicting pain, for example, capital punishment, if we want to talk about the ethics of the death penalty, makes you on the same level as somebody that committed that heinous crime, assuming that they actually did commit that crime. So I think that, if we are to act that way, that person treated that other person when they perpetrated that crime, then we're not morally superior to them by any means. And then another story that I found really, really interesting is, I believe it was in Norway. I think it was in like 2014. There was this, he was a neo-fascist. I think he was a Nazi. And there was this socialist camp for kids on this island. And this was unbelievable. There was a mass shooting. He killed about 50 of them. And they don't have the death penalty in that country. And it was so heinous that it kind of pushed the envelope. And there was actually a bit of a debate because what this guy did was so insidious. They were talking about, hey, maybe this person does deserve the death penalty. But it was in a Michael Moore documentary, and they were interviewing one of the victim's parents. And what I heard him say was very profound, which is that he understands, just how much grieving he's going through, but the pain and anguish that he's experiencing is not going to be ameliorated by excising a similar type of violence on the perpetrator of this person. So I think that's a very different way of thinking about criminal justice and thinking about ethics in general and how we treat other people despite the way that they may treat their victims. So I guess those are kind of my starting thoughts about it.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I'd love to focus on a specific question, and maybe the policy of 3 strike laws or the policy of the death penalty would be a good question to focus on. And we talked a lot about the death penalty so far.
Yeah, sure. Let's talk about the death penalty.
Yeah. Is it a state level policy for the United States, I think, or is it a federal? Or is there a federal policy?
They have the death penalty. Well, many states have outlawed it, but I know Texas hasn't. Yeah. But on the federal level, let's say you commit a crime in the U.S. that's a federal crime, then even though the death penalty is not legal in California according to state law, they still have a federal death penalty, which is very rare, and you'd have to commit an exceedingly heinous crime to get the federal death penalty. But that's sort of how it works.
Yeah, we'll just say the broad question. should there be a death penalty wherever people live?
No.
Yeah, that's the. Okay, you're saying no.
No, under no circumstances.
Under no circumstances. What's your confidence about that on your confidence scale?
100.
All right. You can move it all the way to the left, white side. All right. And I like to keep my pen out of it unless you ask.
Sure,
If you
sure.
want me to, I will.
No, I'm interested to hear your opinion
Okay.
as well. Yeah.
Haven't thought about it too much. I don't know how many states have it. I know you said Texas has it. And I think most don't at this point, right? Or,
I believe a majority of states don't have the death penalty.
yeah. I would lean slightly yes. Like,
Okay.
I'm still very much in the middle, but I'm not like absolutely yes, everyone should have it. Like, slightly that way,
Mm-hmm.
I guess. But
Yeah. Tell me about your position on
could be
this.
wrong there. I don't know. I haven't thought about it. It's like an intuition thing. Like if we have virtual certainty someone committed a heinous crime, I'm fine with killing them. But it would have to be a very high bar of evidence, and it'd have to be a very high bar of crime. But if it was both of those conditions were met, then that's fine.
Mm-hmm. And then we can talk about the principle of it ethically,
Yeah.
in and of itself, but about a significant portion of people that are put on death row and are put to death, about 10% of them are later found innocent. So
Yeah.
if you're going to be okay with the death penalty, what percentage of people are you okay with being executed, even though we find, empirically speaking, that they're innocent later?
Probably like 1 out of 100,000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I see. So since it's 10%, which is one out of 10, that should change your position on it
If we
then.
can't do better than that, we should not have the death penalty for sure.
All right, I respect the consistency
Yeah.
of that.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That, yeah. And I've also heard the argument that it's expensive because people in the death penalty they're going to try to appeal it, and then that requires a lot of money to appeal it in the system.
Yeah, it actually costs way more money. It's very cumbersome on our tax dollars to keep somebody on death row, because a lot of these people are on death row for many, many years as well. But I'm curious to see what in your eyes is a crime that's deserving for the death penalty.
Serial raping of children would be a good one. Like if you've raped 10, 20 below, children below the age of 10. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. So many members of the Catholic Church then.
sure.
All right. Yeah. So what in your mind, because I've kind of laid out my philosophical view of why I'm unequivocally against the death penalty in principle and in practice, what's your justification for saying it's permissible?
Ultimately, it's we the people decide what is legal and illegal in our society. That's where the power of the law and the monopoly on violence comes from. The state does have a monopoly on violence. We put it in their custody, and if we want them to be able to exercise that violence we give it to the police, and then we also why not give it to executioners for people who have committed such heinous crimes. Like, the state commits violence all the time. That's a precedent. What's so bad about this particular instance of violence?
Mm-hmm. So, are you saying that it's tolerable because the Constitution says so?
It's tolerable because of public reason and criticism. If we can get to a point where we reason that it is ethical, then we can use the state to execute our policy based on reason.
Mm-hmm. So, I know this isn't specifically the argument that you're making, but when we say, we the people, we're talking about the preamble. And if we're going to talk about constitutional law, for example, it's very, very clear on something like the death penalty. You have a protection from cruel and unusual punishment, which means the death penalty, which also means, torture as well. And then what you're saying is that, are you saying that the morality of it is guided by public reason?
Yeah.
So, are you saying that the death penalty is wrong if the majority of people say that the death penalty is wrong?
It's not a mere popularity poll, as long as the argument is solid. Then people have a chance to criticize the argument, and it comes out that way through public criticism. That's fine. As long as the argument is there and people have a chance to make the argument and criticize the argument.
So what you're saying is that you want the institution of government to be the one that makes a sound argument, and then the people should be able to, censure it or approve it on their own will. If I'm hearing you correctly, is that kind of your position on it?
Yeah, there's checks and balances of once we get up to the Supreme Court, if they make if the case for the death penalty is made well and it's put into law, or the Supreme Court does not forbid it, then that's a potential law the states could use, or a potential activity that can't be prohibited to happen. So it's about that argument in whatever legal situation that's happening. And if the people disagree with the law, they can change the court. Whoever's in the courts, that's another check on it over time, and it can all be revised eventually if we change our mind.
Mm-hmm. So, kind of to zoom out, there's several justifications for me being anti-death penalty. We can justify it from a utilitarian point of view or a deontological point of view as well. But when we talk about public policy, because what it seems like you're saying is that it's about legal reason, for example, and here's why the Bill of Rights is so imperative, because the role of the Supreme Court is to interpret, our first 10 amendments, and, this is why, it's really indisputable, in my opinion, what the Constitution says about cruel and unusual punishment. And that's what the Supreme Court, as an instrument of government, is obligated to uphold and protect. So, would you disagree with that? I'm curious to see why.
Yeah, is executing a criminal cruel and unusual punishment? I guess solitary confinement is one candidate for cruel and unusual punishment, and that still happens. But I don't know what is the line, what is the criteria for cruel and unusual. Like, we're not torturing them. It's like a very quick process. Is prison in general cruel and unusual punishment? No. Is it, like, which is worse, to live your entire life in prison or to be killed if you're a criminal of some kind, which is more just or ethical to do if, like, there's no chance this person is being let out back into society. Now it's just, they're just in the custody of the state. So, yeah, it's like, how do we define cruel and unusual punishment? If that is unconstitutional, would that apply, the death penalty? I lean towards no.
Because the thing is, when we're talking about cruel and unusual punishment, what we're saying is that, you know, we could punish and we could prevent this person from being a menace to society without taking these measures that, you know, threaten, that, you know, necessarily take their life. And the thing is, too, is the death penalty, it's not just taking somebody's life, but in my view, the same way that terrorism is based on optics and really instilling a sense of fear into people, what the government is doing is they're taking an example. It's usually something that happens on a very large public scale, and they're using that as a way to scare people and as a method to, you know, assert social control and maintain dominance that way through fear, for example. And then I also really, you know, on social issues like this, I really do have a bit of a libertarian edge, where what I mean is that I fundamentally don't believe that the government has the right to take life from somebody, and I also don't trust the government. I don't think they have, I don't want to give the government that much power or responsibility, and I think the vast majority of the American people are actually with me on this. And one example of this is not just the war on drugs, but we also see, you know, very obvious examples of systemic racism carried out in the criminal justice system. But one great example of it is with the death penalty, where white and black people on death row, it was calculated by a big meta-analysis by the ACLU a couple years ago that they commit the same crimes at the same rate, yet despite this, black people are about 4 times more likely to get the death penalty. So I think that's one example. And then the other thing too is, if you're gonna tolerate the death penalty, where does it stop? Why don't you not have an issue then with tolerating torture? For example, why is it wrong to torture people, say, at Guantanamo Bay, for example, if it's not wrong to take somebody's life with the death penalty?
Gotcha. Yeah, I heard the tyrannical reason, like, it gives the state too much power, which could lead to tyranny. And, like, I also heard it does not deter crime. Like, people who say there should be a death penalty, it says it deters crime, but that's potentially not the case. Yeah. Both of those, those are good reasons. And part of the unethical is, like, the systemic racism part. It's like, and there's also, you said something about, it's like a reputational damage reason. It's not a good look for the U.S. to have that law.
Well, I think it depends who you ask, because I think there's a very deliberate purpose behind it. I think it does a tremendous job of making people absolutely petrified. And I think when we look at the areas that it's applied to, and who it disproportionately hurts, I think it's very analogous to when, say, there were lynchings, and it wasn't just the crime that took somebody's life there, but it was the fact that everybody knew about it, and it instilled a sense of fear, and kind of the utility of that was that it was intended to keep people in line.
Another form of tyranny, the lynchings. Okay. Yeah, like as long as it's being done for people who have obviously made a crime, and obviously the crime is at a certain level, like the lynchings in the past do not meet those criteria. It's definitely by today's standards for sure, or the ideal standards. So, yeah, I'd love to weight these reasons.
Mm-hmm.
What are some other potential reasons on the other side you've heard that for the death penalty that maybe I'm missing? Is that it is an ethical thing to do? Is that a reason people say?
Yeah, I guess you could, say it's sweet redemption. I guess
It's like
that's what some people say.
it's more like it's a just thing to do.
Yeah, I guess you could say it sort of evens things out. Trying to think if there's anything else. I don't remember why, but there's
They could be bad reasons, just
yeah. I don't know where they get the biblical injunction from, but I know there's many people on the Christian right that believe they have a theological justification. I don't know where it's from though.
Yeah, that's a reason.
Yeah.
What is that reason? Theological.
I don't know.
That would just be a reason for thinking it's just because God says so.
I mean,
Or there's precedent in the Bible about the death penalty?
perhaps. I don't know. I think you can pull just about anything out of the Bible if you try to.
All right. Any other main category reasons to think about this?
I mean, we can talk about how it's ineffective, but then also that
It doesn't deter crime.
oh yeah, I think one of the main reasons and one of the strongest reasons is that it kills innocent people.
That would be unjust.
Oh yeah, I guess that falls under that category then.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
All right, well, so there's a lot to go into a bunch of these.
Yeah.
So let's just.
Absolutely.
That's now. You got time?
Yeah, I have some time.
Okay. I've got some weights here. Let's start from the left, going to the right. How much of a weight you have 5 out of 5 in terms of weight for the quality of the reason, whereas tyrannical as the reason, and like to be specific, the premises within that is like the United States should not be tyrannical, and the death penalty is tyrannical. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. How much of a weight of a reason should that be?
How many do I have altogether?
You have for the 5 out of 5 in terms of the weight for each reason. They're in that little box too.
Okay.
I put them down to 5 instead of 10.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
last time there was 10. That got stuck in there.
Wait, so for each reason I have a little...
You have we're gonna put a color on each of these.
Okay, I see.
And like we'll see where it weighs up.
Okay. So out of 5 for tyrannical.
Yeah.
Taking
Taking into account all the reasons for and against that reason that we potentially could get into, but
I'd give it a 5.
5.
Yeah.
Okay. What color you want to use? Black.
Yeah, I'll use black.
All right.
All right. Any side, I guess.
The left side, yeah.
Left side. Okay.
Alrighty. Unethical. Sounds like another 5.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was right. Expensive? Is it just as big as both of those reasons? Or
I'd say that's like a 3.
3?
Yeah. You should go.
Usually green.
Scott, just go eat.
What?
Don't worry about me. Go eat.
Okay.
Don't want to hold you up.
3.
All right.
Alright.
All right.
Deters crime. Does that have any weight or 1? Or where would you put it?
I'd give that a 3.
3. Okay.
That'll be red.
Red. Okay. And just.
I mean, am I assuming that it is just, and then I weight?
This is how much weight you're giving each reason.
Oh, personally? Oh, if I'm gonna weight how much it deters crime from my perspective,
Yeah.
then I'm gonna give it 0.
Oh, 0. Okay.
And then in terms of just, I'm gonna give it 0 again.
Another 0.
Yeah.
So all the weight's on that side.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's no reason with any weight on the other side.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Which is the biggest reason here to go into?
Unethical, I'd say.
Alrighty. Yeah. What is your weighting process for that reason?
Basically, that you're no better than a murderer when your solution to a situation in which there's one loss of life is duplicating that, where you simply try to solve the fact that one person died by killing another person. It's not going to bring another person back. It's just going to leave you with 2 dead people instead of 1 dead person. So I feel like that's pretty simple that way. Then the other thing I'd say is that it's deeply inhumane, regardless of what anybody has done for a person, much less a government, to be legally sanctioned to take the life of somebody else and to legalize, the killing of another living human being. So that's what I would say about how it's deeply unethical, and more or less an eye for an eye simply leaves everybody blind.
Okay. I'd love to get these on a scale of like unethical.
Sure.
If 10 is completely unethical, 0 is not unethical at all. Let's try to put these on a scale. Like 3rd degree murder, the death penalty, 1st degree murder, and self-defense. Like you kill someone in self-defense.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a scale of 0 to 10, what number goes on on all of these?
Wait, what do you mean by a number for each of them?
Like 10 is the most unethical, 0 is not unethical at all, like ethical.
Yeah, so how do you define 1st and 3rd degree murder?
Yeah, I've heard that term. Like, I don't even know the specifics. It's like 1st degree murder is like you intended to kill this person and you did it, like yourself. 3rd degree murder is like, I have to look that up.
Is that like you're driving, you accidentally run somebody over?
I think it's more almost accidental or something. Or want me to look up the definition?
Yeah, go for it.
And there's obviously, I assume, 2nd degree. Okay. Yeah. 1st degree is unlawful killing of a human being with malice of forethought. Like that's with intent and premeditation. Let me go back. Second degree is murder as applying to all murders that do not qualify under the first degree. Is any type of unlawful killing that is done with malice or forethought, but without premeditation. Without premeditation. So you're just in a situation, potentially, I think, and you find yourself killing someone. Let's go. Third degree is, no, there's no such thing as third degree murder under California law.
Interesting.
But so maybe we should turn that into second degree. It only exists in 3 states: Florida, Pennsylvania, and Minnesota, and it's very similar to manslaughter. Yeah, which is like, I think that's accidental. I think someone must act with disregard for human life and depraved mind. So it's like an accidental thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like it's like a reckless. You're like a reckless driving and you kill someone. I think that's close to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like driving under influence is like a
I see.
As a common one.
Well, based on the definition of first degree murder, I don't see a difference between that and the death penalty.
Okay.
So, what 10 is? It's very, very unethical.
Yeah.
All right, so I'd say death penalty and first degree murder are both 10s.
Okay.
Third degree murder,
Yeah, that's like a manslaughter, accidental. You're reckless.
it's an oopsie.
Yeah.
Gosh. I think 7.
7.
Self-defense, I'd give it a 1.
1.
Yeah.
Okay. And the death penalty is at a 10?
Yeah.
It isn't it kind of intention. We are intending to kill the person.
Exactly.
It is premeditated.
Exactly.
The whole
Exactly.
plan.
Yep.
Yeah, it kind of goes into it. But is there a moral difference between killing a criminal for a certain crime and killing an innocent, ideally, hypothetically, it's all first-degree murders killing innocent people. Like innocent. Does that go into it at all?
You know, in principle, I see no difference between taking somebody's life, regardless of what on earth they did before. I think you can take the most heinous people, like take everybody from the Nuremberg Tribunal. I still don't see any justification for taking their life at the end of the day.
Because it's unethical is the main reason we're thinking of now.
Yeah, because there's no doubt that these are objectively worse people than innocent people, but you still have no more of a right to take that person's life.
Because what are the reasons for that?
What I'd say is that life is sacrosanct, and
can people kill in self-defense if life is sacrosanct?
Yes, because it's
protecting your own life.
Yeah, because there's a couple things I'd say. You're protecting your own life, and you also have a right to your own body. You have a right to bodily sovereignty.
Yeah.
That way. So those are, I don't it's technically not murder, but here's the thing too. I'm very pro-choice. I don't really care if people call it killing. I frankly don't care if it's a person or not, because what I'm saying is that you can even classify it as self-defense, where you have a right to your own body, you have a right to bodily autonomy, and if something seriously infringes on that, where somebody's trying to kill you or somebody's trying to, occupy your body against your consent, for example, you could say in the case of rape, you also have, a full right to self-defense that way.
Yeah. So what number would be abortion? Is that like also a self-defense thing?
Yeah, I'd give that a 1 also.
Okay. That's fair. Alrighty, cool. Alright. So I'm hearing the death penalty is just as bad as first-degree murder because life is sacrosanct. It's not in a situation where you're protecting your own person, that bodily autonomy, because they're already under control. They're in prison. They're not a threat to anybody really anymore. So at this point, it's just unethical because life is sacrosanct.
Yeah,
even it applies to criminals of like that.
I think given the right that somebody is not directly compromising or threatening or potentially taking somebody else's life, I think everybody should agree that they have a right to not be killed. And simply killing somebody is not going to ameliorate any of these issues on an ethical level.
It won't ameliorate them.
Mm-hmm.
It won't make it a more ethical situation if there's revenge by the state, pretty much.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. Justice is related to ethics. Is justice nested within ethics? Like if something is unjust, can something be just and unethical?
It depends on your type of. This is interesting. We're kind of getting into meta ethics.
Yeah.
A bit here. At least according to me, I think justice is based on ethics, and a justice system ought to be based on that. Fundamentally, and there's different types of ethics, like we talked about earlier. There's religious ethics, there's utilitarian ethics, there's deontological ethics, but I'd broadly call myself like I guess there's not an exact name, but probably like a utilitarian with deontological characteristics where I really do value individual rights, especially on social issues. So in my view, I think ethics are, in my mind, they're pretty objective. I know a lot of people are into moral relativism. I'm not so much a fan of that for other reasons we can get into, but I don't think that there's really a gulf between what is just and what is ethical.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, well, I'm hearing a more deontological thing with life being sacrosanct. That's not like a consequential utilitarian thing. It's not like if we have this,
I actually think it's both.
Yeah.
I think you can be why I'm an anti-death penalty. Even if I was only utilitarian or only deontological, I think my arguments would still be sound.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So it's like what is the argument for the unethical? It's like it's unethical because life is sacrosanct, and if you kill someone with the death penalty, you're taking away life. And both of those are, that is a valid argument, and the soundness of life is sacrosanct, I heard reasons, I forgot them. It's just a deontological thing, or is it and we could go into consequential reasons for having that principle. What are the consequential reasons for that?
I broadly think that morality is objective because I think what's wrong and right is mainly defined as what brings the most good, as Aristotle would say, or what brings the most pleasure, relative to pain, and these are all based on stimuli in the human mind, and I think that's really ultimately all we have. And I think if someone says, life is not about, maximizing, how good you feel, then what I always say to them is, all right, like, what's the alternative then? If it's not about maximizing, happiness and minimizing pain, go run to the back of that restaurant and put your hand on a stove, and then, try to tell me otherwise, because I really don't like him for other reasons. But a couple of years ago, I was really into, you might know him, his name is Sam Harris.
Yep.
I was really into reading him. I read The Moral Landscape when I was more into philosophy, and what he's basically saying is that with human experience, there's highs and lows, and we can say, hey, here's a bad life, and think of what that would be, and then there's a good life that's really maximally beneficent. And for morality to be objective, we do not need to know exactly where something is, but we need to understand that there's a range of human values that way.
Better and worse.
Yeah, better and worse.
It's like if we move from the worst possible misery for everyone, that's like the
yeah
bad.
More or less like that.
That's bad. Then we can measure where we're heading. Similar to like health. Well-being is like health.
Yeah.
And that's related to life is sacrosanct, and by that we mean like sacred, infinite value, complete. And is that, and the consequentialist argument for that is, we know that morality is objective, and killing someone is objectively wrong.
I'd say that's fair, yeah.
And why is killing people with the death penalty objectively wrong?
Because I think if we're trying to base this on the view of ethics I was talking about, it's crystal clear that killing somebody decreases that person's welfare, and then it also decreases the aggregate welfare. So I think if we're looking at it as a moral landscape, it's a trough. Or like another metaphor is like if we're walking back there to like where there's a hill there, and we're walking back to like all the dorms and everything, like right there by the Bruin Bear, we're kind of there comparatively because we are really at the bottom point of the human experience and maximal welfare for everybody by doing that. Or I should say you're definitely getting closer to there by pursuing that course of action.
Okay. Yeah, it definitely lowers the well-being of the person being killed. How does it lower the well-being of other people?
So it really depends on the circumstance. If it, lowers the well-being of other people, I think anybody, their well-being should be lowered by that if they're not suffering from psychopathy. So I think the fact in and of itself that, there's a living, breathing human being that's being killed should, lower the welfare of other people.
Okay. Interesting hypothetical. I'm just thinking of, if we empirically tested that, if we had like people, like a person being killed by the death penalty next month, and we empirically tested the well-being of people who knew about that death, and they didn't. Well, I'm hearing you say if we empirically tested that, we would predict they would have less well-being in some empirical measurable way.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know what your method would be, but I'm sure there's polls about it.
Yeah, if we had some like high-quality method.
Yeah,
to get that.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And we tested that.
Mm-hmm.
What if it was positive well-being?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how we could do that, or just hypothetically if that happened.
Yeah, because I think, are you saying what if that was positive and aggregately there was so much well-being of all these people and somehow the well-being superseded the suffering of the person that died?
I remember people dancing in the streets when Osama bin Laden was killed. Remember?
I was young then, but I remember when they killed him.
Yeah, I remember seeing that online and having a rush of joy. So
yeah, dude. I mean, congrats. The U.S. killed the guy that they created. It's terrific.
So I don't. That may be just unethical people have been enjoying positive well-being. Like, or how are we measuring morality then? That's interesting, because the thing is too, when Donald Rumsfeld died, to put it mildly, I did not shed a tear about that one bit. Dick Cheney.
Yeah, the other side of that coin. Yeah, I'm still waiting on Kissinger.
Is there anybody alive today that if they died, you would have positive emotion?
Yes.
Okay.
Kissinger. That guy. Yeah. Anyway, but I digress. But that's an interesting point, and that's what I've thought about it. There's this book called Moral Tribes by John Green, I think. Not the Crash Course guy, another guy named...
Another John Green.
Or maybe it's Josh Green, I don't know. But he talks about that, and he says, these are what people, often say to, utilitarians. They give them these thought experiments, and it's like, the other example, like, what if, the Romans throwing them into the pit of lions actually does make everybody happier on balance, and despite that there's a miraculous cost, that overall people are happier. One, I don't know how we would measure that, but that's what I like about the moral landscape, is we don't need an exact, objective metric to know that it's subjective. But I think for basically everything I've seen in the real world, I think utilitarianism is quite valid. But then another example that Josh Green talks about is, he said, what if on balance people did own slaves and it did make them happier overall, and it made so many people so much happier despite the obvious, like, really deleterious impact that has on the slaves. We're doing thought experiments, guys. Don't take any of this out of context, okay?
Yeah, we're finding some repugnant conclusions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think in philosophy, if you really think about this stuff, you can get to some really, really weird conclusions. But I think, fortunately, they don't really exist in the real world. But I think, like, deontologically, like, the idea of, like, bodily autonomy and the right to life would still, trump the enjoyment that, people would get, even in a really sick way, out of seeing other people suffer and die.
Yeah, if we had, like, a deontological reason for this, then it would just violate that principle, obviously.
Yeah, because...
And that's that.
Because the thing is, I'm not gonna... Because based on what he's done in his life, I'm not going to be sad when Kissinger dies, but I would think it would be very, very wrong, for him to get the death penalty. Okay. Still, because it's my emotions, and emotions don't make something right. That's just genuinely how I would feel, but I don't really know if I could really square that with reason. Same, you were talking about Osama bin Laden, same with Saddam Hussein, when they gave him the death penalty, I thought he was a terrible guy. We're not really talking about geopolitics right now, but yeah, really terrible guy. But I still thought it was exceedingly wrong. It could not be more morally reprehensible to give him the death penalty.
Mm-hmm. We would be in a better world if he was just in jail, right, in prison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Same with serial pedophiles.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, great convo. Thank you. I enjoyed this. Very in-depth.
Riley.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Wonderful.
Love going into these things.
Yeah, totally.
Is this your third time? I think
this is the third time, yeah.
You got the whole set now.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Did you get the puzzle pieces last time?
Yeah.
I need to get refilled.
Take another one. On the same YouTube channels, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Sweet. Thank you, Riley. Hope to see you again. Thanks. Anytime.
Yeah, for sure.
That was fun.
Is this like just for you to join? Anybody can join?
Yeah, I am open.
I just have like some time to kill, so how does this go?
Perfect. Yeah, my name is Reed. Nice to meet you.
Reed Alejo, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. How do you spell that?
Alejo.
Gotcha. Alejo.
Yeah.
I'm just resetting my board here. Had a great talk with Riley. Had a third talk with him. He's a great guy.
I can't really hear you. What's that?
Yeah, let's use headphones.
All right.
It's easier to hear. That's better.
Yeah, it is way better.
All right, yeah, so Alejo. My name is Reed.
Reed.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I just finished my third talk with Riley. We talked about the death penalty. It was fun. Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Have you seen me here before?
No, it's first time.
First time? Yeah, I try to come on Wednesdays. So many post-it notes now. Cool. So, yeah, you see the topics over on the board over there?
When I first saw it, but then, like, I forgot what they are.
I like to leave it open, really. So what I'm doing here is like to chat with people about what they believe and why, and help them think through things. Let them pick a topic, and I ask Socratic-style questions to help them think through it, to help me learn, to help us both collaborate and figure out whatever we're talking about, if it's true.
And what's your background?
I'm not a student here, just a random guy. I go out to various places here in LA to practice this. This is was my hobby. Now it's more of my main thing I do. I'm president of a nonprofit called Street Epistemology International now.
Okay.
Helping people learn and practice this thing.
So I guess my question is, where do you ground your basis for like having these conversations? Like, did you study some type of philosophy? Did you study some type of like psychology, or is it just more like you're having a free conversation?
It's like a grassroots movement that started with a book in 2013, and then another book in 2019, How to Have Impossible Conversations, from a philosophy professor. So we're trying to figure out better, how to have better conversations in these polarized times.
Cool.
So it's not, there's like two goals. It's like learning the truth of something and also figuring out how to have conversations. It's like those two parallel things.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm a philosophy major, so that's why I'm kind of asking.
Amazing.
I just noticed the question, so it's like I know those are like some just like topics that no one has a specific answer to, but is very controversial no matter how you slice it.
Philosophy.
Yeah.
What are some interesting philosophy topics you like to talk about?
Metaphysics, because I feel like it kind of goes with the questions about whether we have free will or not, and then if we do, that has like very wide implications on, I believe it has wide implications on how we generate our beliefs, and then how we generate beliefs, generally speaking, is how we conduct ourselves in the physical world.
Gotcha.
So
it looks like we're in that time of day where the sun is about to come out for you. I have an umbrella if you want me to put it up.
This is good right here so far.
Yeah. Also, the sun hits this a certain way and it gets like overheated.
I mean, if you want to move,
give me like a minute and I'll set this umbrella up and we can talk about metaphysics.
Go for it. Yeah. Is this a live stream or something?
Yeah. Got a card there.
Cool. Well, for anyone watching, I am a senior here at UCLA, and I am also a professional race car driver.
Professional race car driver?
Yeah.
Amazing. What kind of race car?
Rallycross.
Rallycross.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it like a more dirt, road type thing?
It's a crossover of dirt and tarmac. So if you're from LA and ever watch X Games, it's when they used to race in the Coliseum or at the Nokia Center, when they would have like the Ford Fiestas, like going through the city and then jumping over like these jumps from one section to another.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Intense. Awesome. Want to plug in anything about that?
Yeah, so I was going to plug that in. Follow me, peeps, at AF Racing 126.
Peeps AF?
No. I'm just like peeps that are people. Yeah, everybody out there.
AF Racing.
126, yeah.
126. Gotcha. I will have the peeps check out. Awesome. All right, I rarely have that deep of discussions about metaphysics, but I'm open to that. Is the question like, what is the best metaphysics? Is that a thing you talk about? And then there's options for that?
I would go more about like free will. Does free will
exist?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are things determinate?
Yeah.
Or
is determinism true?
Yeah, exactly.
Does free will, which one is best to talk about?
They're both one in the the same.
It's like a reason for that free will. Does free will exist? Okay. You have a confidence scale there. If all the way to the right is absolutely yes, it exists. Or to the right, absolutely no, it does not exist. Not sure, absolutely yes. Where's your current confidence about it?
Well, I feel like my confidence is derived off like a philosophy that I just come to understand. So, I mean, this is a difficult question because you're asking me a degree of confidence, or like how confident I am in something that I can't like generally on a belief,
Yeah, how's the universe determining you would be right now?
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I think I can give a fairly compelling answer that will give somebody a good amount of, let's say, this type of confidence that free will does not exist.
Okay, that would be towards yes. Let's make it towards no on this side.
Okay.
So whatever that is on the opposite side.
Sorry.
Yeah, gotcha. Cool. Just leaning towards no.
Yeah.
All right. And what do we mean by, this is the question, what does free will mean?
Okay, so very loaded question, but let's just try and tease it out. So when I say free will, I'm asking more in like the sense of like autonomy, like willing. So let's say you see this drink that I have right here, and if you're not thirsty, well, you're not going to grab it, right? Because you're not thirsty. That's one sense, because your body is going to need that liquid. So that would be one reason to quench your thirst. Another would be just out of pure appetite, just like gluttony, you're thirsty, and you, for no other reason, right, we can suppose. So in that sense, it may seem like you're making that choice, correct? But the more we look at things, the more things are causally explained. That's where I make that decision or that statement that I don't think things are as they appear, and more so our free will isn't really necessarily there, how we consider it.
Yeah, so is the definition the ability to choose? I don't want to use freely in the definition. What is that? What do we mean by that? The ability to choose? I don't know how to say it without using the word.
Yeah, so basically I'm trying to exclude instances of like manipulation, coercion, lying, cheating, things like that, because I can manipulate you to do something which you may think is in your free will, like your own action to decide whether you do that or not, but in reality I've just manipulated the circumstances or the facts or the environment to make you do such a thing.
Like, yeah. So the ability to choose without coercion or manipulation.
That's what I mean by free will. So having that actual thing.
Does like
what? Like for example, let me ask you this.
Is another. Go ahead.
What do you think you have like absolute control of in doing?
Not much.
So then you're arguing towards what I'm saying.
Yeah. I would say
not much.
Not much. I'd be there.
Why not completely then? What's stopping you from saying full on?
Maybe the words we're using aren't the best words to use.
Okay.
Or maybe the definitions are, depending on how we define it. I'm hearing free of the universe's causes and randomness. Like, I don't know what that means to have freedom from that.
Like, okay, so what do you think you have freedom of? Like, is it you have freedom to think? You have freedom to do any particular action you want in that instance?
Yeah, depending on the level of abstraction, like the level we're talking about. Not much freedom at all, but practically I have a lot of freedom. Yeah, because of the complexity of what I am and my environment. Yeah.
So you're saying the complexity of who you are and the environment is what gives you freedom. So I'm taking it to be the case that the environment and who you are as a person affects in such a way that it can be random in a moment-to-moment case, right?
Unpredictable.
Yeah. Okay.
There's too much input to have a predictable output.
But just because something is unpredictable doesn't mean that it's not the case. That just means we can't understand it.
It could be completely predictable in principle.
That's only if we completely understand it. But you're kind of going the opposite way, saying that because we don't understand it, it doesn't ground it.
Yeah, it's an illusion.
Yeah.
Of free will.
So then, if it's an illusion, it doesn't exist.
Not really, no. That's why I'm not where
But you're still hung up there. Like, where is the point where you're like, okay, we do have free will? It's in the moment.
If we play around with language, then it comes into it, maybe.
I think we can like just disregard language. I know like it's hard like to talk about this with like language because of like certain definition and meanings and referencing to what, but apart from that, like there's still the issue is still there. It's not like language is the thing that's hindering this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess another thing that's keeping me from all the way, it's just an uncomfortable thing to think about.
That's just the biggest thing, right? Yeah. That's the biggest thing that people have, I think, generally speaking, maybe in the West. And that leads you to have a certain belief about how you go about behaving. And that's really something so intrinsic to yourself that most people are blind to it. And if you're blind to this reasoning on why you behave, then some of your values can be warped or misunderstood, and you just have this confusing ideology of what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that's kind of part of why I'm out here. I don't think people have the choice to, once they are confronted with their reasoning, they don't have the choice but to like rethink it and potentially be persuaded by having the argument laid out there in a clear way.
Yeah.
Like if there's a clear contradiction in what people are saying, whatever we are, it doesn't go well for our psychology.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then on that note, it's sometimes it's harder to investigate your own questions rather than just telling you what the answer is, right?
Yeah, many people don't get the opportunity to really lay out what they believe and why.
I don't think many people consider it. Why?
Yeah. Which I like to give people the opportunity to do. And yeah. But so this question, you're different from me in confidence. What's keeping you from going all the way?
Oh, my view of like physics and like science. So there's this view in quantum mechanics where I'm probably gonna like be butchering this, but it's this other theory about, I think it's called the Boolean theory of how to like of how they're doing the mathematics for this theory. So essentially what they're saying is in quantum mechanics, it's that, you know, the normal picture that we see of an atom, how there's a nucleus in the center and then there's electron and protons just like not moving, but they're just static.
Yeah.
So that conception is what physicists are now considering is wrong. Rather that it's not, particles aren't stationary, rather they're just constantly, randomly happening.
And it's part of probability space.
Correctly. But when we observe them, we see them act in such a fashion, right? Mm-hmm. And there's still a little bit of a mystery there, but where I'm going with that is that same like logic of this theory where things are determined to happen, but we just can't predict how they're going to happen, is what grounds my idea that we live in a deterministic world if we adhere to these physical laws and theories.
That sounds like a reason against free will.
Correct. And
what keeps you from going all the way down? So what is pushing you that way? What's the reason for that?
Oh, in like definitely saying it is like semantics and explaining it to some people. Okay. You know, it's like my conception of like certain words are going to be different. It's just it's a loaded question with loaded terms.
Yeah.
That's why I was like,
right
there. I feel like I'm giving more of an explanation for it rather than my own answer.
So it's more about just a lack of clarity on what the words mean, or the totality of the argument in terms of
the totality of the argument, because it's so complex. Some people think that free will is, even if I'm like, you want some water, you want some lemonade, and you still choosing to say no or yes is like somehow your own ability to do that. But like just me doing this is like I'm influencing you to think of this. So like, is that really free?
Yeah, let's hypothetically, how could we test this if we could have like magical testing powers and we could do anything we wanted to do to test it? What would be the best way to test it?
To see whether
humans have free will.
Mm-hmm. I think that's something we can't really test right now with the technology that we have, because our will...
If we did have the technology.
But I mean, here's where the question is, our will is something that is not observable. Like, we can't pinpoint it, you know? Like, I can pinpoint a radio frequency and I can be like, okay, when it's at this frequency, it's going to do this. You know, I can observe that somehow, like through mathematics or empirical evidence, but you can't really do that with
What
will.
if we had a time machine? Would that help in solving this question?
I mean, if the time machine implies we have like the technology to do something like that, I guess.
The ability to rewind the clock and see if you would have decided to sit down here or not.
I think that just proves my point. Like, we don't really know how it's going to happen, but the fact that it does happen signifies that there was no other way that it could have happened. Therefore, because there is no other way it could have happened, it is deterministic.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm not giving a reason why, because I don't know why. There could be many reasons. But what I am saying is what I am doing, like the reasons for what I am doing.
Yeah.
Which is it's really tricky to understand the differences between like a what question and a why.
What would it mean for people to have free will?
What would it mean for people to have free will? I think philosophically speaking, it would be for them to just like, just like a trait of humans or animals, right? There's like this animal pack instinct, go with the crowd, right? That's why there's all these adages like the black sheep, the one person that stands out from the crowd. So I think if we have more of that free will, people would have more of an inherent capability to be a self-fulfilling person in the way that is self-fulfilling, which is whatever that person is, rather than being influenced by other things. Because if you're influenced by other things, how free are you? Are you like making and doing choices because of your own rationale, or you're just influenced by other factors and you're just oblivious to them?
So if you have a goal, a person with free will would be able to get to their goals virtually always, or virtually all the time?
So probably I think the way to say it was, by virtue of pursuing free will, you would be having free will, because to have free will is like just to pursue it. Like there is no definition other than what it is, right?
Yeah.
Because if not, then there is no. It's like a very black or white. There's free will or there's none.
What if people are determined to be that way?
To be which way?
To have
like
a more of a
that type of view on life?
Yeah, that type of view and that ability to pursue their goals without being distracted or manipulated.
What's the question? What if people can have this type of view?
What if they're completely determined to be that way? Does that mean they have free will?
When you're saying determined, are you using it in the sense that this person is consciously telling themselves, is aware of themselves that
they couldn't have done
this is my but where is the reasoning? Is it because they are deciding to do it, like having conversations with them, no, this is my goal, blah blah blah, or it's like just like life circumstances led them to those things?
The circumstances of reality made them that way.
Okay, so then your environment and physics, right? Create, influence you. And the question is what exactly? I forgot. What if a person is that way?
Yeah, if a person is pursuing free will and getting to their goals without being manipulated or whatever that was defined as, could that whole process still be completely determined without their control?
Yeah, it seems like it's more of a meta question what you're asking. Like,
yeah, I'm asking what would it mean for people to have free will in a universe like ours?
Yeah, I feel like I'm taking it from like a philosophically standpoint, and in the sense, okay, what does it mean to have free will?
Okay.
I want to do X for my reasoning. And it's not like I want to do X for your reason, right? That could be like a really brute way of saying like my choosing to do this, like my free ability and choosing to do X, right?
Yeah.
So what would it mean for someone to have that, to fall into?
I think people do have that. Is that if that's what we're defining as free will, then yeah, people do have that, and free will does exist. But is that really what we're talking about when we mean does free will exist?
No, I don't think so. How about you give me an example and I'll try and like talk about that then.
Like you walked by here, you sat down.
Yeah.
Did you have the ability to do otherwise?
Did I have the ability? Yes. To do otherwise? Yes.
Did you?
Yeah. I could have come here or not.
From like a cosmic perspective of the universe.
That's my whole standpoint. It's like there had to be. I could argue that there was an influence of me wanting to start a podcast and then seeing some mics here and you having a conversation and interesting conversation topics. Like all that could have slightly influenced me to come here.
Yeah.
So that's like proving my point.
And if time travelers wanted to test free will, and they're like, these people sitting over here, they have a time machine, and they could just rewind the time as many times as they want to, and they just observed you always sitting down every time, millions of times. Is that evidence that we don't really have free will? But what if you kept walking one time? What would that mean? For the time travelers to try to test this question.
Does free will exist?
If you kept walking half the time,
and the other half I sat down,
I wouldn't think we were as determined as we thought we were.
If I didn't sit down.
Yeah. If half the time you kept walking or half the time you sat down, I would not be here. I would be like here.
Right. So here we go again into kind of like the discussion that it's just because it is the case, or the fact that I'm saying that this is the case or that this is what we're happening doesn't mean that I know the reasoning why. So just like I could have either sat or walked. It was in my like it just depends on what side of the argument you stand on. Let's say we're arguing against it, right? Against free will. We can argue that I had these factors that I named out earlier influence me to sit here, right? But if we're arguing that free will doesn't not exist, so then that would mean I would have just like free control of making every decision. I would argue that maybe then the stimuli of the environment wasn't strong enough for me. But just because it wasn't strong enough for me doesn't mean that I didn't have the ability to go to that attraction or not. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's like the proximate cause versus ultimate cause.
Exactly, yeah.
We have plausible cases we can give for why you've sat down here. You wanted to talk about stuff. You're a philosophy student. You want to do a podcast. You're interested.
Yeah.
So that's the approximate case for why this is happening. Yet this is another language issue. We're not really interested in proximate causes. It's like, or are we? Is that all we care about?
I think most people do. They want to know like a black and white answer. Is it this case or is it that case? But that's why I go back to like where my beliefs stand from is the like physics and metaphysics. This is that same theory. Like there's this idea of how the most foundational particles in our universe, which are called quarks, how they operate. And so when they're like hovering or however you want to call them around the atom, we can't. It's this thing called they're in superposition. So if I'm not like butchering it wrong, it's like one thing could be in like it could super like position itself over the other one, if that makes sense, when you're observing it. So this is like the correlation that I'm trying to make with metaphysics and this quantum theory view and the determinism of whether we do have free will or not. It's in when we're looking at this view of metaphysics, we can analyze and predict where these we can't predict where this certain particle is going to be, but we can get a reading or we can get a result. Does that make sense? Like we can't predict where it's going to be, but we can get a result. So we can analyze it.
Yeah. And we can model the results, and certain results have certain probabilities.
Exactly, but we can't pinpoint one exactly because of this superposition and like how everything works. Because when we look at it, when we go to observe it, it acts in a completely different way. than when we don't observe it. So my correlation, or the analogy that I'm trying to do with that, is that my decision here, this is my decision, but whether it could have been to not sit or go get ice cream or go to my doctor's appointment, that's like something that like superpositioned my other drives.
Okay, so you're making an analogy to yourself sitting down here to like a quirk.
Yeah, because we are made of these things. Like we have to, by definition, we follow these same laws and properties that these quarks do, because we're made of the same matter. That's why my belief is grounded in the physics, because that's like the reality of how things operate.
Does that follow, because we're made of something that behaves a certain way, does that make us behave exactly the same way as the individual parts?
That's what I'm trying to establish.
Is that rule always applying?
I would argue, yeah, because if we're made of matter, anything else in the world is made of matter. The foundational blocks of matter are these quarks. Therefore, we operate in the same fashion.
Like, does water behave the same way as hydrogen?
Well, water is a form of, or hydrogen, you know what I mean? Like, when you strip everything down, it's all going to be atoms, right? And so what's the foundation of atoms? It's these quarks. So if we can understand how these quarks behave, we can further understand how these atoms behave. We can further understand how everything else behaves.
Yeah. Different levels of models.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But essentially, they all have to follow the same laws, because we live in the same. Like,
yeah. Does every level follow the same laws as the below levels? Is it like a cumulative thing? Like, is it required to behave at a higher level if a certain behavior is at a lower level?
This is like a philosophical question, and I would be of the belief that yeah. Right. Because like, I mean, if not, there has to be at some point where we consider something other than matter.
Or can something be greater than the sum of its parts?
What does that mean?
Like, can something emerge that takes on a certain quality that is different from the individual parts?
Definitely, but that's still, where is it coming from? From those parts, and those parts are made from, or are coming from matter. Which is the foundational, like, that's the stuff that builds everything in the world. Is that?
Yeah. It's very complicated.
Very, yeah.
But this is great, Alejo. And I'll be out here 2 more times this year, next Wednesday and the Wednesday after. I like to give people a little puzzle piece if they will feel like it to remember the conversation. Feel free to take a color if you want.
That is cool.
A little puzzle piece.
Yeah. I gotta get going, man. I have a doctor's appointment right now.
No worries, yeah. This was fun, though.
This was fun.
Hope to see you again.
Yeah, I'm taking this card, actually.
Sure.
Good talk.
Thanks.
Right here? Cool.
Cool. Have a great day.
See you.
Thank you. See you.
But I just know it's freaking.
Thanks, yeah. That was a little rambly. That was alright.
Monty, there's a 50% chance. Thank you. Oh, for AIDS.
I'm like, bro, why not crushing me? Like, it's really want it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I only have one extra slot box. That's Angelina to format.
It's getting super chilly. Forecast was like 75. It's pretty cold. Remind me to hit record on that GoPro if I forget. Oh no.
Like, he's such a sweetie. He always tries to make people laugh. And I laugh at him. I didn't tell you. What? If I'm there as well, I can show you.
Here's a diet baked inside coffee.
My hobby YouTube channel. I like to chat with people.
Mind if I join you?
Sure thing. I am open. Is that your personal scooter?
Yeah.
Awesome. How do you like it?
I might get a new one. It's kind of like giving up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Seems pretty convenient, I guess, for the campus, though.
Yeah, it's not that great on hills, but I'll probably just buy a better one soon.
Oh, yeah. Does it, like, lose a lot of speed if you're going up even, like, this type of grade?
This one might be fine if it was, like, back when I bought it. But it's kind of died.
It's gotten worse.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Anyway. Want to use headphones?
Sure.
Cool, cool. What are you drinking there? Wow.
I have a lychee volcano from Ackerman.
Okay. That's the smoothie place up there?
It's a boba place, yeah.
Boba place. Nice, gotta check it out. My name is Reed. Nice to meet you.
My name is Eric. Nice to meet you.
Gotcha. Cool. So, do you mind if I record and live stream? Is that cool?
Go for it.
Thank you. Yeah, let me explain more what I'm doing here. I'm trying to practice street epistemology. Have you heard of that?
No.
It's a Socratic method style friendly conversation where I'm really in a role to help people think through whatever they think is the case. I want to be in like a collaborative frame where we're trying to figure out whatever we're talking about is true or not.
Okay.
And if you feel like it, you can ask me what my opinions are, but I'd like to keep it out, ideally.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a few topics over there to talk about, or really whatever you want to talk about. It's not so much about what we're believing, but like, what are the reasons we're using to believe it, and are those good reasons?
Okay.
Anything come to mind to chat about? politics, religion, spirituality, science, philosophy.
What do people usually talk about?
Political issues, political policies,
Okay, let's go with that.
spiritual stuff, God, religion.
I'm not so involved politically, but we can go with that.
Okay. I'm trying to practice politics more. This started out more in spirituality and religion, but trying to branch out into politics and stuff. Which is harder
Yeah.
for me at least. So, what's an important issue that most people aren't talking about that should be talked about?
One issue. I feel like the lack of prioritization for education is one that like people aren't talking about enough. Like we're talking about a lot about like gun violence. We talk a lot about the climate, but I feel like we don't talk about education enough.
We need to prioritize education and education policy more
Yeah,
in political conversation.
yeah.
What would that look like if we ideally got to a place where it was prioritized?
I feel like if it was prioritized more, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, what would the world look like if you got your way?
I feel like a lot of the issues we suffer from today wouldn't be as present if education was more of a priority. We have people who don't really believe in science as of right now, like especially with what we're going through. And it's like, it's science. When did science need to become so political?
Yeah, that's another question to talk about. The politicization of science, potentially. Yeah, education. Let's have like a scale of the prioritization of education in the U.S. right now. If 10 is like completely prioritized, number one thing, and 0 is not at all, where is it right now on that scale?
Probably like a 4.
4.
Yeah.
Where should it be ideally?
10. Education's our future.
It should be the number one thing.
It should be the number one thing because the future is our kids, right? The kids are going to be who the country is. So.
Okay. The future is our kids, and kids need to be educated in some way to make. Okay. Gotcha.
Oh, by the way, I probably need to take off in like 2:20.
2:20.
Yeah, around then.
That's fine. You can set it to 11 minutes there. Turn it to the left.
So it's 10.
That'll be perfect.
Okay.
That's great. So there's a couple questions we could talk about. Should education be the top priority, or what is the current level of prioritization?
Okay. We're starting with the first one first?
1, 2?
Yeah.
Which is the more interesting question?
I feel like the first one is probably we'll lead it to the second one.
Okay. Yeah. So should education be the number one priority? If all the way to the right is absolutely yes, it should be, or not sure, or absolutely no. Where's your recurring confidence about that?
I think education should be the absolute
It should
priority.
be the number one priority.
Yeah.
Okay. Reasons for that. What do you think? What gets you to that level of confidence?
Well, like I said before, when we have education, we have it for our kids, and our kids are our future. Also, it's like education makes for a better world, I think.
Education makes for a better world.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And-
It's the thing that helps make the world a better place.
Yeah.
The most.
Yeah. Yeah.
Education.
Yeah.
Okay. Why is that true?
Well, if you think about what pushes our world forward, it wasn't like climate issues or all the other stuff. I think it was education. Like technologically, what pushes us forward into a future age is education.
Okay. Yeah, the broader question is what makes the world a better place, and one is education, because that leads into other things like innovation and technology. We can't have that good stuff without knowing how to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what education's about.
Yeah, so like without education, we probably wouldn't have access to the level of medicine we have today. We wouldn't have, the ability to explore for new opportunities outside of our planet. We wouldn't know what our planet is. We wouldn't know a lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense.
We wouldn't have access to a lot of stuff that we enjoy today, like live streaming to YouTube and all that.
Can people have too much education?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think people can have too much education because, there's people who just learn for their entire lifetimes, and that's okay. It's like, if you want to learn for your entire lifetime, go for it. That should be your right?
Yeah. Anything absurd the world? Is there like an absurd world where the education is prioritized too much? To an absurd degree. I'm wondering.
Huh. That's an interesting one. To an absurd degree.
What would that look like? Or could that even be possible?
I don't think that could really exist. Like, to be overeducated. It's like you're just educated, right?
Yeah.
You can't really be overeducated. You can be undereducated, but you can't be overeducated.
Can't be over.
Logically, I don't really see how you can be overeducated on something.
Yeah, as long as you're like not being forced to do it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of like a dystopia where like people are in like the Matrix plugged in and always just being educated about stuff their entire lives and not being able to do anything with their own lives.
You're thinking about that, or
that would just be an absurd extreme if we maximized education.
I guess that's like the absolute max.
Yeah. But short of that, of like being in a tyrannical state where people have to go to school up to like 50 years old, 12 hours a day, that would seem unproductive. But that would be maximizing education.
Well, education doesn't have to necessarily be going to school until you're 50. It could be through other opportunities as well. Education isn't exclusive to school.
Yeah, you don't have to be in school to be educated.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay.
Because you can always learn through doing, but like I believe the government should also provide opportunities to do that, right?
Mm-hmm. What are some valuable things to do in life that are not about education?
Go see the world.
Go see the world. I guess that's part of education.
Yeah, that's part of education, right?
Yeah. Is there anything that's not educational that's worth doing?
Love.
Experience love.
I guess that's also educational because you grow as a person. Like you learn about other people. So I guess that's education. Education is very broad. That's why it's also important. That's why it's important.
It makes sense to me. I'm just trying to wonder where this. What's the limit of this? And I don't think there isn't much a reasonable limit. It seems to be intrinsically good.
Yeah, it's like I don't think it should be as I'm forgetting the word. Forget that thought.
Okay.
I'm forgetting the word. If I think of it, I'll come back to it.
Let's just assume it is an intrinsic good. What's the best way to get educated?
School. But like, I think the way we do school right now is not that great, especially in the U.S. Because we don't prioritize it. People need to be working other jobs alongside going to school, so they can't focus completely on their studies, and they're not getting immersed in the education that they deserve. If you look at other countries like Denmark, they pay their students to go.
Wow, they paid their students to go?
Yeah, one of the European countries does. I don't quite remember.
Wow. And you said something about people deserve education.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why is that the case?
People deserve education?
Yeah.
I don't think we should restrict education. Everyone should have the opportunity to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay.
If you restrict education, that's how you get tyrannical leaders. That's how you get people controlling people below them.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. All right. Well, I don't know where to go with it. We don't have time to go into anything more deeply than that. Lots of interesting ways to go, though. If you see me again, I'm coming here the next 2 Wednesdays in a row. I'd love to continue the chat. It's just fun, though.
I think next Wednesday is finals week, and the week after that, we're off.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So then in my mind, just probably next week then.
Yeah.
But in finals week, That might be stressful.
Yeah, next week is finals week, and then the week after that we don't have school.
Yeah, so probably not going to get many people next week.
I mean, I'll be around.
Okay. I might want to blow off steam.
Maybe I'll be around.
Okay. Hope to see you again. It's fun though.
Of course. You do this on YouTube?
Yeah.
Is this your YouTube channel, Street?
That's what I'm trying to practice. My YouTube channel is this.
Okay. I'll take one of these.
And feel free to take a yellow, red, or blue puzzle piece. It's like a stress ball thing. And if you see me again, you can come back and get another one of these.
Oh, one of these?
Yeah. They're like little squishy things.
The whole thing?
One color.
Oh.
If you see me again, you can come back and get another piece.
Okay.
And build out the whole set. Don't worry about it.
All right.
Well, thanks, Eric.
Of course.
This is fun. It's getting chilly.
Oh, yeah, it is. I was up in NorCal the other week. It was really chilly.
Oh, yeah?
It's like 41 degrees in the morning. I'm like,
yeah.
Well, it was good meeting you.
Nice meeting you. Thank you. See ya. Go Jacks. Got 15 minutes to go, right? Or how long? No. An hour and 15. Holy shit. Well. Thanks. Yeah, I was still trying to find an interesting question to talk about. The timer? No, I've had that for a while. Blue. You have the plastic. Oh, my camera over there.
And the one place we went to wasn't
So sad. The person behind the helmet. Not me. Take the helmet off. Oh, yeah? Got it. I just never seen their face either. It's violent. I sound like a That's problematic. That's very problematic. Yeah, it is. Dude, what dealing, guys? Push to Vegas and help fight domestic violence. What do you guys do? Push to Vegas and help fight domestic violence. No, but for real. For real, guys. We're not kidding. We're not kidding. This is a joke. It's like an actual event that's happening. Okay, 5 minutes. 5 minutes? Oh, the power's down. Help my domestic violence. Yeah. Not even slightly. Like very, very. Help fight domestic violence. There's like such a that would have been fun. Oh no. Want to trip to Vegas and help fight domestic violence? I'll fight domestic violence. I'll fight domestic violence. No to domestic violence. I know. Thank you. Same thing. Got it.
Anyone want to buy a sneaker for children's autism? I was on an active member last
He's like, I gotta get I don't think he was okay. He was like, actually. I feel like doing violent societies for I just like shapes and colors together. Like actually could do Here we go. Yeah, true. Oh my god. No one won that fight for a minute. That one girl.
Hello. Who's that? Awesome.
Don't know if I'll sit in.
No worries. Awesome. Yeah.
We got 4 minutes. Oh, I think I had such a bad poker face. So true.
Oh, hey, Jeff. Sorry.
Oh.
Was distracted. Hang on a minute. Hey, Jeff.
Good afternoon.
What's up?
Just hanging out here, watching you.
Nice. Yeah. I was thinking of wrapping up very soon. It's getting a little chilly here, but I had some good conversations today.
It's okay.
Good stuff.
I missed them. Yeah, I'm still trying to do the conversation with that friend of mine who's a flat Earth believer. He's been a little hesitant. Yeah, he's been a little hesitant. Yeah, his wife is afraid that she doesn't believe in flat Earth, and she's worried that having a video or something could be used against him in some way. And I told him I wouldn't publish it, or I could blur his face or change his voice, but I don't know. He's a little hesitant at the moment.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, try the anonymous thing. That would be better.
Yeah, I'm hoping I'm going to ask him here soon, next time I talk to him, if he would ask Mark Sargent if Mark would have a conversation with me.
Yeah, I wonder if Mark charges for public appearances now. I assume he would.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I could. It's not. Yeah, I don't know if it would be a public appearance. I mean, I wouldn't record it surreptitiously, but if I did a Zoom call or something like that, I don't know. I'll see what he says. But he knows that he knows Mark. Like he knew Mark before Mark was the flat Earth guy. So he knows the guy. Like he doesn't know him just because of flat Earth. He knew him before. So
he might just be like because he's his friend, it'll help you get.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah.
We'll see.
If it happens, I'll be reaching out to you guys in the community to give me some help.
Should we draw straws?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said before, if I got something like that, I would gladly hand it off to you or Anthony or one of the other guys that are much more experienced than I am at this.
I think I'd have Anthony try. That'd be fun.
That would be. I would pay money to see that.
Yeah. Maybe SEI could do a public event with Anthony on stage and Mark Sargent and charge for that. That would be awesome.
Ooh, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. I would love that. Yeah.
I've been wanting to do a pilot program of that of some kind. Public events with street epistemology. Yeah.
Count me in.
Yeah. Either we moderate two people talking, or we just get someone to talk to and just talk to them about their main issue they're talking about.
Yeah, I've got a neighbor across the street. He's a bit older than I am, and he's absolutely convinced that Joe Biden stole the election and that Donald Trump's going to be reinstated any day. And he's like, thinks Mike Lindell, the pillow guy, is like, has all this evidence and stuff. And
oh yeah,
just trying to have a conversation with him. It's like, I even asked him, I said, what evidence would you accept that the election wasn't stolen? And he says, at this point, I would none. So I'm like, I mean, just not even, I mean, okay, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. He went down the QAnon rabbit hole this last year. The whole thing. I mean, like satanic baby eating Democrats and stuff. You know, the whole 9 yards.
Wow.
Yeah, sad, man. To see people that just believe anything like that, right? I mean, been living here for 16 years. I've known the guy all this time, and he went off the rails, man. He's still okay, but it's about stuff like that. He's just like totally convinced. I even asked him, I said, so you trust Mike Lindell more than our systems of governance? And he said, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I don't even, what's the next question? I mean, I didn't even know. I was like, okay. I mean,
maybe sympathize with him and just say what it would take for you to believe it. Like, what, you know.
I did that. I told, he asked me, he says, what would it take for you to accept that the election was stolen? I said, evidence and some proof. He said, what would you do if you were convinced and you saw the evidence? I said, I'd be one of the first people to stand up and say Joe Biden needs to come out of office and Donald Trump needs to be reinstated. If there's evidence and proof, show me. Absolutely. Yeah. But the onus is on, and I talked to him about that. I said, the onus is on, the person making the claim. I'm not making the claim that there was, if there's evidence, show me and I'll change my mind. And he actually did say that he's kind of at the same point. He's a little frustrated with I think he's getting frustrated with the movement, with the dates and how they keep saying it's going to happen here and happen there in a movement. And he said at this point he wants to see some solid evidence, but he's still convinced, but he's just kind of, I think he said he was unplugged and disconnected from it a little bit because you just haven't seen any evidence.
Yeah. I don't know what all goes into election security and certification. Just both of you work together and figure out how that works, and the next election go to a poll and observe it yourself, see how secure it is.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I even mentioned all of the mass number of people that it would take to perpetrate something like this, just election officials and poll watchers on both sides and governors and lieutenant governors and election officials in all these states and judges and everybody. It would just have to be this mass, huge cover up. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But he also doesn't, he said he won't take the vaccine, and there's no way in the world he'll ever take the vaccine. It's got some kind of something in it, and people dying from taking the vaccine. I don't know. I guess he watches Newsmax all day long or something. I don't know.
Wow. bunch of people here walking by.
Yeah, I see. Can hear.
I guess pretty soon it's going to be very little IRL SE happening. It's getting to be wintertime. I've seen Twitter Spaces is an interesting place to start doing it. It's like a clubhouse type thing, and Reddit is also doing something similar. Might work on that, or maybe going back to VR. I like doing it in VR. That was fun.
Is the Twitter space, is it video or is it just audio or what?
Just audio.
So what's going on with the Discord server, the Street Epistemology Discord server? It just seems like here lately, I haven't seen a whole lot of anything happening there.
I don't know. I think they're working on revamping the structure of it a bit. They're getting some new moderators in. The practice sessions are on Saturday. That's the main thing that's happening mainly.
I need to hit those. I haven't been doing that. You're in Los Angeles, right?
Yeah.
How far is that from San Diego? About 2 hours?
Yeah, about 2.5 hours, 3 hours. Depending on the time.
Yeah, I go to San Diego fairly regularly for business. Next time I'm out there, if you're available, I'll give you a shout. I'd love to hook up and maybe go out and have a beer.
Yeah, Dolly and I met up with someone in San Diego last year. That was fun. We could do that again.
Yeah, I would like that. Yeah.
Yeah, just let me know. Oh, getting some ants crawling around on my equipment here.
Uh-oh. So how do you have those mics you got? You say you're videoing with your phone. How do you have those mics? Are they Bluetooth microphones hooked up to your phone?
Yeah, it's this, I don't know how it works, this magical adapter for my Zoom P4 recording system thing. It's a Bluetooth adapter that plugs into the side, and then I can adjust, and then it connects to my phone wirelessly through Bluetooth. And it has mix minus, so the audio just goes out and your audio doesn't come in and feedback stuff happens.
Huh.
It protects that. It's great.
Interesting.
Highly recommend it.
Well, Reed, looks like things are kind of slow and you're getting ready to pack it up, so I'm going to take off and I'll keep you posted if I get anything on the Flat Earth home front, and I'll let you know if I get my way out to San Diego.
Okay, thanks. Yep.
All right, we'll talk to you later, Reed. Bye.
Later. Yeah. Doing a YouTube live stream, chatting with people about whatever.
Oh, that's sick. What are you talking about?
Got a few topics there, or anything people want to talk about.
Man, these are pretty cool.
Yep.
I got nothing going on.
You want to do it?
Might as well.
Sure.
You go here, or like you live around here?
I live in Hollywood.
Oh, okay.
I go to various places in LA.
Like you go to college. I've seen these like you've seen like crowded and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen that.
That's awesome. Do aliens on set?
Nice. That's a fun one. So, yeah, welcome. Cool. Do you mind if I record and live stream?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you so much. My name is Reed.
Nice to meet you. My name is Tyler.
Tyler?
You could call me Ty.
Gotcha. Want to do headphones? It's a little easier to hear. Check. What's up?
Oh, hello?
Hey.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so welcome, to my table. You haven't seen me here before?
No, I haven't. This is first time I'm just coming out of finishing my exam for Soc. So.
For Soc?
Yeah.
What was that class exactly?
Sociology.
Sociology.
I was studying psychology, but I'm on the golf team here, and sociology is a little easier, so I just recently switched that.
Golf team. How's the golf games going around?
Pretty good, man. I've been grinding, getting ready for season in January when it starts back up.
Well, golf season's in I guess California golf season, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, technically it's all year round, but here, because of the weather, the main reason I came here, you practice all year round, so it's nice.
Nice. What are your favorite courses around here?
Hillcrest. I shot the course record out there. I shot 63 at Hillcrest. And then like 2 weeks later I shot 64, so I'd have to say that's probably my favorite course out here.
Makes sense.
That and then Sherwood, Thousand Oaks.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I just do like Top Golf whenever I go to like Vegas or something. That's as far as I go.
No, Top Golf's fun. I like going to Top Golf, bringing some friends and stuff. So.
Yeah, that's fun times. Aliens, is that what we want to talk about?
Yeah, we're talking about aliens.
Fun topic. Any time constraints? I have a timer there if you want.
Oh, no.
Doesn't matter to me.
I'm good. I got nothing going on.
Awesome. Here's a question, there's kind of two broad questions usually for this. It's like, have aliens visited in the ancient past, or have they visited in the... That's what I'm interested in, like the
modern era.
Modern era. Or it's kind of a boring question to think, do they exist at all? And they haven't visited yet, but do they exist?
That's crazy. I think, I don't know, my perspective, because I'm in a physics class right now, and it's like space and weather science and stuff, and they say space is never ending. So to me personally, you look at it and you're like, oh, there's all those galaxies. You're going to tell me there's not one planet out there that's like Earth out of billions and trillions. Mm-hmm. And they say the Earth's 13.6, or the universe is 13 point whatever, and we're only like a little blip in the universe. So to me, I think there's got to be other civilizations that started up, millions of years before even Earth was thought of. So I think they're out there, just maybe haven't ran into them yet.
Okay, yeah. What about the visited claims, either anciently or modernly?
Personally, I believe in it just because, you look at the pyramids, you look at all that stuff, and I know people could be like, oh,
the ancient claim?
Yeah.
Which one do you believe more, modern or ancient?
I believe the ancient more than anything.
More ancient.
Yeah, because I can imagine some super advanced civilization finding Earth and then being like, oh, we could give them a little kickstart, a little boost, and then, we took it to what it is now.
Yeah, that's aliens is an answer to this related question, how did ancient human civilizations either build such complex structures or just get started in general, and aliens is one question for that, one answer.
Yeah, I think a lot of creativeness and stuff comes from alien stuff like that. Or I was watching this podcast, and it was saying how back then a lot of, I don't know, they were taking mushrooms or hallucinogenics, and then next thing you know, they think they're seeing all this stuff, and they come up with crazy creative ideas, and then you get a whole civilization on it, and then a bunch of people doing things. I feel like that's how you could also make a big leap, and then
that's an alternative hypothesis for how civilization could get going like that.
Yeah, I would think so, because say back then they were taking drugs and they had no idea that they were doing it. Seeing all the crazy stuff, and then they might write that down and be like, oh, it was out of this world, but
yeah,
I feel like it just depends. I haven't looked into it too much, but
okay. So if all the way to the right black is absolutely yes, aliens have visited Earth in some time in the past, or not sure, or absolutely no, where's your current confidence about it?
Oh, I think they definitely have, without
Definitely
a doubt.
have? Is it like all the way to the right for you?
All the way to the right.
Do you have your own there if you want?
Oh yeah, definitely going all the way to the right.
All the way to the right. All right. And what is the thing that gets you to that level of confidence? What's the main reason why?
Just because over the years of like human civilization, we've made such like vast advancements. And then also, if you think about it, like society and stuff, like me being in a sociology class, like I look a lot at like society and, you know, like the higher ups and, or I mean, not to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but like there would be like a big panic if people, you know, maybe felt threatened or something. And then there's like two different theories that, you know, back then like the church and religion was created in order to have like one unity between everyone, because you know everyone may look at each other and be like, oh, we look a little different, so they'll have like racial arguments or whatever. But if you bring something from out of this world, now everyone's like, okay, you know, we're on the same team, we're on the same planet, now we have to work together to fight them. So there's a thing that like maybe we've already been visited by aliens, but they don't want like people to panic, so they tell them, oh, you know, there's no aliens, this and that, because they know. And then they're waiting for, you know, maybe when things get too bad that they'll release it, and then everyone like joins together. I don't know, it's like a weird thought, but
I'm trying to track the reason. I think what I'm hearing is it's a sociological reason about society, and I'm still not sure where aliens comes into this.
Okay, here, I'll clarify what I was saying, because I was kind of rambling there and just like, okay, what I think is that the government and stuff, like they use aliens for a number of reasons. They don't...
Real aliens.
Yeah,
or merely as like a cover.
Or I think real aliens.
Real
I think they have real aliens and they just haven't told anyone about it because they're using it for maybe if something drastic happens, or say like a World War III happens and things start getting destroyed, then you're like, okay, we'll tell people that aliens are real, and then they'll make like a fake invasion. Aliens are working with us.
It's like a backup plan for World War III to distract people?
I don't know, I just kind of thought of that on the fly right there.
Okay.
So that'd be kind of cool.
That would be interesting. That's a good reason to think aliens have visited Earth? Because it could be used as a backup plan?
Or no, I think they've already visited Earth, but we don't know.
Past.
Yeah, but we don't know about it because they don't want to cause like a big uproar, so they keep it on the DL, and then if they have to...
The aliens themselves? Or human governments?
I think governments are already communicating.
They're already communicating.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that true?
I don't know. I think so, though.
What's the best evidence for that?
The best evidence for that? Let me think. I don't know. It's like I don't know, I watch all those old TV shows and it's like, you know what, they draw cows. It's like a meme thing too. They draw cows because they see them, and then they draw spaceships because they saw them. So, I mean, they kind of put it right there. And then some of like the equipment that we have nowadays, like we can't even move like the structures back then. So it's like, yeah, even if you got 10,000 guys, it's like, how'd you get them all to work together, do it for free, get beat while they were doing it, you know?
Like the pyramids.
Yeah, and it's like, if there was so many, you know, like people that were forced to do it, I just don't see why they wouldn't all work together and take out the people that are making them do it.
How did aliens help that situation?
Oh, that's what I think that like that's not possible for everyone, like a whole society to work together and create and make something like the pyramids. So I think that's why aliens came down.
How did the aliens build the pyramids?
Oh, I don't know. They probably had some like advanced technology, like zero gravity stuff.
Like they're just like gravitating blocks and putting them in a pyramid style.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like an advanced civilization, if they came down, say, I mean, we're only like 4.6 billion years old, like Earth. So, I mean, say there was a planet or civilization that started like 12 billion years ago.
Yeah.
You know, they probably got some stuff that like we'd never even heard of or thought of. And
Yeah.
you know, I can just imagine like the technology. Imagine where we would be in, you know, another 10 billion years.
Hmm. Is this claim testable in any way? What would cause you to revise your confidence about it if you discovered something? What would you need to see to revise your confidence about it?
I don't know. I feel like it's one of those things that's like to believe it, or man, I'm just like digging myself a deeper hole. This is such a hard conversation to have.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I think that if someone already believes something, it's going to be hard to persuade them unless they can see it with their own eyes and see like actual results, because you know, everyone's going to have that internal bias if they already believe it, so they'd have to see it in order to change that around. So I mean, unless, you know, there was some actual way that we could know, say we found like some big excavator, some ancient excavator that maybe they were moving to move the bricks, then I'd be like, oh, okay, that's pretty legit. Like if you could fire that sucker up and still move, you know, bricks that big, then, you know, more power to them. But I don't know, they look at them.
Yeah. If we had an alternative explanation for how just regular human beings could make pyramids and stuff like that,
yeah,
that would make the aliens hypothesis less likely, and that would mean they didn't really likely visit in the past.
Well, I think maybe then that would just lead me to believe that, you know, the pyramids were created by humans, and then maybe we are just here by luck. You know?
Yeah, if we had explanations for how stuff like the pyramids could be built, where would your confidence go?
Oh, confidence would probably be, I mean, you're talking like stuff, because I'm talking about like, you know, like Easter Head Island and stuff like that, like those big causes that people don't know where they came from or how they built them way back then.
Okay. So any questions like that, any strange things that we see in the past that we think aliens caused it, and we found alternative explanations for all of that, where would your confidence be then?
Then my confidence would probably be like middle, because then I'd still have that doubt that, you know, the universe is like infinite and there's millions of galaxies.
And this is for the claim aliens have visited Earth.
Well then, yeah, no, it would be down here. I don't think that they'd visit Earth if you can explain that stuff.
So it's really all about aliens causing or having some type of influence with all of that stuff, like the pyramids and the other Easter Island stuff.
Yeah, I think that it's more of like they kick-started Earth if they did visit.
Kick-started Earth in human civilization?
Yeah, so what I'm saying is, if you had an explanation for the pyramids that made, you know, like common sense, and it had like a whole blueprint, and you were able to go through the steps of how they did it, then I wouldn't think that aliens visited. But because there's no real explanation on how all those things were built, I think that, you know, maybe in the past or something, an alien civilization that was going around maybe looking for a different planet.
If aliens are the best explanation, what's the second best explanation?
For how they'd like create those things?
That doesn't have anything to do with aliens.
Like how they created that stuff?
Yeah, how they could come to be, you know.
And I mean, I would just think it'd take a lot of manpower, and then, you know, religion's a huge thing. I feel like religion is the motivator behind all. It's the only thing that bonds anyone, really. And
so religious humans in the past?
Yeah, maybe back then, you know, such a strong religious belief, so many people coming together. And
they just maybe thought their pharaoh was a god or something and learned to... Are they tombs? Is that what they are? It's like, I think that's what they
like
are.
The Sphinx, and yeah, they're like tombs. I think they bury the pharaohs in there. They like create them for the pharaohs.
So that's one hypothesis. Religious humans wanting to, either by force or like just by religious reasons, building big temples and pyramids and stuff.
Yeah, I think they did it for religious reasons, and there's really two reasons I think that I'm, you know, in the middle of, and I'm not sure. You know, one would be religious reasons, which is the one that makes the most sense because we have the most proof, and then, you know, maybe aliens or something. But
okay, I'm still wondering how that alien situation works.
I mean,
are they interacting with ancient humans?
Yeah, I think
so.
so.
And they're building a pyramid.
Like they come down and visit. Everyone looks at them like they're gods because they got all this technology and stuff. And then
Okay. It's like the humans aren't building a pyramid as a monument to aliens. It's like the aliens are helping the humans build a pyramid?
Or I don't know, maybe the aliens needed the pyramid to like accomplish something, maybe get more power or energy. So there's like theories that it conducts heat or energy and electrical currents. But I think,
how did the aliens get to Earth without like an energy source? That the pyramids would help with them with that.
see, and I don't know, that's the thing, like maybe there's a bunch of what ifs, you know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of
Very
I'm just kind of spitting a bunch of BS that
I mean, it's all about hypotheses, just guessing and explanations. But once we have some hypotheses on the table, I like to brainstorm how we could test the hypotheses. But that's a whole conversation to go down. If you see me again, we'd love to continue.
Yeah, I mean, I got nothing going on. If you want to do maybe another conversation, something that I'm actually more knowledgeable about, because this is kind of BS that I'm saying. You know what I mean? I'm not really.
Fine. So where you started all the way to the right, where are you now with it?
Just because I haven't seen any proof, like I still believe that they.
You still believe they have visited in the Asian past?
I'm a big conspiracy theory guy, so.
It's conspiracy, and that is a type of conspiracy. The aliens in the past building civilizations and pyramids.
Yeah.
What's another interesting conspiracy theory?
Oh, that I believe in?
Yeah.
Man, I was thinking a lot about like sometimes like we're living in virtual reality. Like sometimes, you know, there's multiple universes, or I'm not sure exactly what the conspiracy theory is, but I don't know, I believe in like manifestation. I believe in like people can really control things around them. And
what does that mean?
Like I don't know, I believe people can accomplish and do whatever they want if they truly believe it like enough, and they actually have, you know, some type of skill to back it up. And I feel like the world is just meant for people who, I don't know how to explain it, like, you know, that cheesy thing like everyone's born with a gift. Like I believe like that's like a true thing. I believe that the world is, you know, maybe not rigged or fake or anything, but there's like a weird law that, you know, if you could find out your passion or your gift that you're good at, and if you actually, you know, have a goal in mind and ambition to accomplish it, I feel like people can actually do whatever they want. But the biggest thing is people get in their own way, and, you know, they get too caught up in results. They get too caught up in that rather than, you know, enjoying like the process of doing it. People get too caught up in like, oh, I want to be here, I want to be there. But back to how that makes this like a, you know, simulation or fake, but I just believe that people have more control over things that they think they don't have control over.
Yeah, like people have a gift and they have control over their destiny.
Yeah,
that type of thing.
Like I feel like sometimes people, they feel too sorry for themselves and they look around and they're like, oh, all these bad things are happening, but, you know, like there's just basic things that people can do to, that no matter what, they won't fail.
Yeah, it's like, I guess two questions are interesting. Do people have gifts? And if they do have gifts, what is the source of that gift? What causes them to have gifts?
And that's crazy. You could go down a bunch of rabbit holes. I mean, I think people's environment, definitely. When people are really young, that's when they make the most improvement. I feel like that's when people are, you know, everyone's just a product of their environment, you know, where you grow up in. So if you grew up and say you had a niche for something and you like to do something when you're really young and you develop it, usually it's the thing that people pick up when they're young. I mean, later on in life, you'll hear people like, oh, you know, I found out that I had this gift and I'm a writer and I started publishing at 30 years old. But a majority of the time, there's like this thing, I met this guy and he was like he's like an entrepreneur, but he was saying, you know, that first thing, most of the time, like the dreams that people have when they're a kid are dreams that they can actually accomplish, but other people, you know, get their kick stomping on a dream, so they tell people, oh, you know, you can't do that, you can't do this, where, like, I just think, like, people's imaginations actually can control things around them, and, like, their own destiny and their luck.
People's imaginations can control things around them.
Yeah, like their confidence, what they believe. Like, I don't know, for me, it's just playing sports. I've kind of noticed weird things because I started playing when I was really young, and my dad was huge on like manifestation. So when I was younger, he'd have me like do all these things, and it was weird because it would actually happen, and it didn't seem like I was, putting in like.
What do you mean by manifestation?
Like my dad would be like, oh, think about what you want to do, like in your next tournament. Think about how you want to play. Like develop a plan from, forward to backward, and then replay it in your mind over and over, and imagine like the feeling. And then after a while, like it just became a habit, like walking around throughout the day. Like my mind would never be blank. It would always be focused on one thing. That was a big goal. And then I would slowly like accomplish these other things that I didn't even know I was accomplishing because I was so focused on one goal. I'm not sure if that's, hard work or something, but to me it was fun doing it because I was so involved in like, I wasn't looking at like results. I was so like day to day. I feel like just daydreaming.
Yeah, there's like a strong version of manifestation potentially, or in a less strong. It's like merely because you thought it, you made it happen. Like you made reality change merely because of your thoughts, or like a weaker version of manifestation. So you just visualized it, you made a plan, you had all that going into it, and that increased your chances of it actually happening.
Yeah, I believe that. Like
the second
exactly how you said it. I believe that if you have a plan in place and you actually just go through the days, because it's okay. Here's like the best way I can explain it is, no matter what, like everyone walking around here is like pretty smart, and I guarantee you that when they were younger they never liked going to school, but they still woke up and on the days they didn't want to go to school they were still able to drag themselves through, like some worksheets, going through the motions. Well, just because they were going through the motions and constantly doing something every day, and saying like, oh, there's a test coming up, so they're constantly thinking about school and stuff. Naturally, just being a product of the environment you're in, being at school and having other people manifest this like thing for you, like, oh, I want you to be smart, I want you to know how to read, write, and do this. Well, I didn't make that up. Government that made the laws and forced me to go to school made that up. So at the end of high school or whatever, everyone can read, write, everyone can do everything. Well, that to me is like a pretty good explanation of anyone can do anything and get decent at it. If you wanted to be, let's say, a writer or something, if you told yourself every day, okay, whether I like it or not, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to work, I'm going to write from 7:30 to 2:30, exactly how, you were forced to do when you went to school. If you have that same mentality of, oh, I just got to do it, and, you go do it, you'll get good at anything you do. I'd bet money on it. You could say that, you've never golfed in your life and you suck at golfing, but if you show up every day from 7:30 to 2:30 and you have a semi-plan in place and somewhat of a goal, it's one of those things, like shooting for the stars, you land on the moon, you're still above everyone else. That's like the best way I can explain it, is in people have total control over what they do. They just don't have the mental ability to, or no, not that. They don't have the discipline to sit down and say, like, is this helping me or is it not? They do it, and the definition of stupidity is to do the same thing, like over and over and expect different results. So,
So we were talking about gifts, and I think I'm hearing you say people just have gifts naturally, and then through discipline they can develop that gift.
Yeah.
And through potentially manifestation is one way to do that, which is making a plan and visualizing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
I call it manifestation.
Manifestation. Okay.
I mean, because I've had some times where like I would really close my eyes and I would imagine like everything about the day. Like before I'd go to bed before a tournament, I'd be like, man, like it's gonna be nice, sunny tomorrow. It's gonna be around like noon when I make the turn. I'm gonna be at this. And then there's been times where that very next day I wake up and I'm out there and I'm like, holy shit, like word for word, exactly what I explained that was gonna happen today happened.
Your expectation met reality exactly.
Yeah, and it's like kind of funny how it perfectly happens. Like I'll imagine, something, and it's like, say you have a downhill putt, like right to left, and it's 10 feet. And then it's so weird. The next day I'll be out there and I'll have a downhill putt that's like right to left 10 feet. And then it's like, wow, and then you just have that weird confidence because you're like, I've already thought about making this in bed for the last 2 days. And so then it just gets rid of all like I don't know, it just naturally happens.
It lets you be more comfortable with the situation.
Yeah. So I think visualization's huge.
Gotcha.
Especially when you hear it from like every other athlete and everything, and especially in businesses too.
Yeah. Is there a limit to manifestation for what people can do? Like if someone wanted to manifest, they could fly off a building.
I think
I assume that would not work.
I think to an extent. I think you have to have a little bit. You also got to be a creative person to think outside the box, because I feel like, you know, everyone gets too caught up in too seriousness, you know, like for instance, like I was saying, like, you know, Stomp's kicking on a dream, like that's something, for instance, like my grandpa would say, you know, he's real old school. He'd be like, oh, you know, you can't do that. Well, you know, if he was like, oh, well then I'd like to see you go fly. Well, what if I made, you know, what if I became a millionaire and I bought a jet and I could fly wherever I want? See, so I mean, I feel like that's the power of the imagination, thinking outside the box. Like there's always a way to do everything. You know, you hear usually the difference between like a CEO and a guy that like is a worker is a guy that as a worker would go up to, or a guy that's like a manager would go up and be like, hey, can you do this? And they'd be like, oh, there's no way I can do it. And then they'd be like, oh, okay. And then, you know, the guy that's the guy that runs Ford Motor Companies would go up to him and say, hey, can you get this done? And the guy would say no, and he'd say, okay, I need it done next week. And it would still get done just because people
found a way.
People put a limit on themselves, you know? If you take a flea that has a 36-inch vertical and you put it in a 12-inch jar and it has kids, that kid's going to live its whole life thinking it's only got a 12-inch vertical. So I feel like everyone puts a ceiling on themselves because, I mean, it's like crabs. You know, when crabs are trying, you put a bunch of crabs in a bucket, the one that's close to getting out, all the other crabs will pull them down because they don't want them to get out. So, I mean...
Yeah, how to fulfill your own potential and not limit yourself. Another interesting question. Good stuff, though. To get close to where I'm about to wrap up.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ty. I'd like to offer one of these little blue, red, or yellow puzzle pieces. Feel free to pick a color, and if you see me again, we'd love to chat again.
Oh, all right. Sounds good.
Thank you, man.
If I'm out here again and I see you.
Yeah.
I know we've been on a lot of tangents there. I was getting lost.
No worries. It was fun, though.
Yeah, I know. It was nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
You have a good one.
Thanks. See ya. Alrighty, that was fun. I'm going to wrap up. See you guys next week. Pine Creek Poker tonight. Have a good day.